hardest working people who are just grateful to have that second chance and opportunity.
Welcome to today's episode of St. Patrick Center's More Than a Soup Kitchen podcast, where we've got Basia Skudrzyk on the show. Basia is a case manager in our workforce development program, and she's been working with St. Patrick Center now for about a year and a half. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Awesome, Basia. Well, thank you so much for joining our show today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. We want to do a couple things. We want to learn more about you in general, learn more about the work that you're doing with our workforce development program. And then we'll also talk about the clients that you're working with as well. So can we just start off by hearing a little bit more of your backstory and your journey to St. Patrick Center?
Sure. So my background focuses on education and development. I have about 20 plus years of experience in helping other people grow, whether it's in education or in programmatic opportunities. And my life journey started with St. Patrick's Center about a year and a half ago, as you said. And it started because I am a system-impacted woman. I went through a very traumatic experience by being exposed to what incarceration means as a single mom of two young children, and never being exposed to the realities of life that many people in our country do. We incarcerate the most out of any country in the world. And, the people that are closest to the problem are probably the closest to the solution. And as difficult as that journey was, I felt that it was my responsibility to help change the narrative and to help people who are in these situations, who feel hopeless and who feel that they don't have an opportunity to move forward, that there is a way, that there is a pathway. And I found St. Patrick's Center literally right as I came home, and 6 weeks later, I started to work for them. So that's how I became associated with St. Patrick's Center. And I would say about 70% of the people who are our clients have been impacted by the system and who experience severe barriers to entry. There are statistics out there that say that it's 5 times more difficult to find meaningful employment versus the general population. And as we know right now, there are a lot of jobs out there, but unfortunately, people who carry a conviction have more difficulty in stating a case that they should be considered for a good job.
Your story is truly inspiring. Thank you for sharing that with us today. Can you tell us a little bit more and explain to our listeners what the Workforce Development Program is and what your role is there?
Thank you. So workforce development to me means taking on a people-centric approach. So our goal is not to just find employment when a client comes to our program, when a client is referred to us. We are very particular in making sure that the people that work with us are actually doing work that they love, that they find passion. You can actually find jobs that have meaning and that give you that passion to move forward and to influence others in your network. And with that being said, we have a Roots of Success program that we just started. It's a 10-week module program that focuses on green workforce initiatives. It's also certified by the Department of Labor. So when each client graduates from the program, they get a certificate showing that they are knowledgeable about green workforce initiatives. And that program includes knowing what to do about recycling, maybe getting a job in the building industry. What does LEED certification mean? How can you make your home more green and save money at the end? So we give people skills and training that could provide impact in their life as well as in their community.
Basia, I love the fact that you mentioned you can strive to have, these other jobs that you're more passionate about, right? And that kind of mirrors our housing first model, right? We want our clients to live where they want to live, right? Live where they know that they're going to be successful. So we want our clients to have jobs that they know that they'll be successful, they'll stay, they'll be able to grow and succeed in those positions. And we've seen that time and time again with a lot of our clients moving into the workforce and getting promotions and then coming on and hiring some of our other clients.
Definitely. I feel that you have to give people a choice. And people typically in the situations that they are in come to us feeling like they don't have a voice or they don't have an identity. So much of the work that we do focuses on what our client wants to do. They have a choice. They have a voice. We sit down and do an ONET review. So we go online on the computer and our clients complete a full questionnaire on what they enjoy doing. And then we match that with jobs that could support that vision or that mission. We create an employment plan. So we develop short-term and long-term goals. And as a workforce case manager, I'm their coach, but so much of it is them coaching me, learning about what works for them best. It's not what I think is best. It's what works best for our client. And that's where we find true success.
Whenever it comes to, St. Patrick's Center, and the programs that we have, one thing that I really love is the fact that we're able to meet our clients where they're at. What is a client that you've worked with recently in which you were able to really create that custom game plan for?
Definitely. So the client that comes to mind is a man who was incarcerated for over 8 years. He was referred to our program, and I'll never forget him sitting in his chair, just lifeless. He was just removed. He was sad, probably a lot of anxiety, that he was carrying a lot of stigma. But when he realized that our program is not about judgment, it's about restoration, about putting that human first language into that person and letting them know that they have a choice to move forward, he completely changed. I'll never forget that. And a part of our Reentry program focuses not just on the cognitive behavioral therapy, which is a curriculum called Making It Work, but we bring in employers who are second chance friendly. We bring in experts from Worldwide Technology, from Fidelity Investments, from the Gun Company, which is a local manufacturing company here in St. Louis. We bring in duo dogs. We're going to have dogs next week that come in and provide therapeutic services to people who may be hard of hearing or who may have disabilities. So we show our clients that they too can make a change. And that's part of the healing process. And that's part of the change and transformation that we see in each of our clients. So going back to this example that you were asking about, one of our guest speakers came in, a former police officer. And as you can imagine, a police officer with a formerly incarcerated person, that's an interesting exchange. And the police officer shared his story too. What does it feel like to be a police officer who may be trained to incarcerate people more based on bias, whatever that story is. And there was a connection there. He said that he wanted to change the narrative too. And he wanted to provide a platform to help people become their own entrepreneur. And this gentleman loved the idea that he could one day work for himself and build his own company. So Precision Recovery actually teaches people how to renovate homes. They give them all the skills. They give them all the tools. They give them a mentorship, a mentor, I would say. And they have a cohort of people who've been in the same places they have. So there is no judgment. And together they restore and rebuild communities in North County, in the city area. And once they reach a certain level, then they are provided with an opportunity to start their own business. So it's just investment in people again. And when you bring people into the same room and you humanize them, that's where the magic starts. And that's where the change begins. And, we are a housing first model, but without income, you can't move forward. So you need to have both. And that's what we aim to do.
I know you said you bring in different employers from all through St. Louis that do the second chance or give second chances to our individuals that have experienced incarceration at some point. Is that something that you guys have to seek out, or do you need more volunteers to step forward for these programs?
We would always love more partners. But again, I feel that our clients are the ones that show the amazing impact that they provide in, the workplace that they work in. People are calling us to see how they can be a part of the experience, because from the experience that they've had so far, they see that our clients are some of the hardest working people, dedicated people who are just grateful to have that second chance and opportunity to prove themselves and to not be defined by what they did, but rather be defined by who they are.
Brandy, I love that question because, we're always looking to grow our partnerships. One of our core values is collaboration. So, Basia, just the feedback that you're getting from your clients, what organizations or what industries are they looking to go into, that we would love to partner with these folks?
Typically, it's a range of things. There are people who want to go into healthcare. There are people who want to start their own business. There are people who are really good at cooking and baking and are seeking someone who can help them get into that arena. We have people who are interested in manufacturing. There are people who are interested in social work. And as you mentioned, Kevin, sometimes we hire our own clients because they are closest to the problem. They know what it feels like to be incarcerated. They know what it feels like to be homeless, to not have a car, clothing, or food. These are basic needs that people don't have and that many people take for granted.
Yeah, there's a term that I really like, and it actually comes from my time working in the sex trafficking industry, and it's called victims' voices lead. And it really sounds like that's something that you guys take into consideration when working with your clients and the system impacted individuals, is allowing them to tell you, what they need and what other individuals in their situation, their circumstances may also need. And that allows us to improve our programming.
100%. I think society upholds a certain narrative where the person who is impacted by whatever life experience they're going through, they don't have a chance to necessarily explain themselves or to share that journey that they went through that, resulted in whatever happened to them at that point. And by just listening to our clients, it's just extremely therapeutic to them and to us. We learn from each other. It goes both ways.
Oh, absolutely. I totally agree with that. You tend to learn more from our clients sometimes than we learn from ourselves. I tell my staff all the time not to, to set your boundaries, but you still want to be able to be relatable because something that they're going through, you probably went through it and it may be able to help someone else. So with that being said, how does your first person knowledge or experience help you to relate with clients that you have now that may be going through the same thing that you've been through?
Sure. Well, I think something that you said that is so incredibly important is setting boundaries. Sometimes we compromise who we are to either please another party or to go above and beyond, not realizing how much danger you can be placed in. And a lot of that's environmental. And talking to my clients, there's patterns, there's similarities. And, it's that self-love and being confident in yourself and knowing that you're capable of doing it and having that support network that allows you to persevere through whatever challenge you may be having. So, what I really admire in our clients is the perseverance and just that wisdom that they carry. And it can be just one comment that is so simple, but so true. And I feel like that's a blessing and a gift that I receive every single day coming in through St. Patrick's Center's door.
So back to reentry, right? Because it makes up a pretty large portion of the work that you're doing in workforce development, right? And you mentioned that we have a very large, a very large clientele of folks that have been impacted, system impacted. You said 70%, I believe.
Yep.
Can you tell me, what are we doing to help reduce recidivism amongst our clients?
Definitely. Well, through training, through education, and through employment, it's been proven that crime is reduced by doing that. Putting people back into prison does not decrease the problems at hand. It's giving people the proper tools, the proper support, and skill sets they need to be in their communities and to live a sustainable life. So let me share some statistics with you just so that people know. The state of Missouri has a 44% recidivism rate. So basically that means that almost half of the people are going back. So the current system in place is not really working, right? So we need to make a change. And that change happens when we educate people, if we give them the platform to speak, to share their experiences so that we can change what's going on, the systemic issue of incarcerating people and giving people what they truly need. And that's a support network, that's education, that's housing. And it's not only the people who are going into prison, it's their families too. It transfers into so many areas that a person who has never really experienced it doesn't realize, because you don't know what you don't know.
Can you give us any information on, women in homelessness?
Well, definitely. Even through my own personal experience and teaching while I was incarcerated, over 85% of the women that I lived and worked with were traumatized either through domestic violence, through some kind of addiction, or environmental factor that didn't give them the confidence. And sometimes, it's easier said than done to be like, oh, well, why don't you just leave, or why don't you change your space? That's not always possible for the person, right? But that's where St. Patrick's Center comes into play. If a person who has just left a prison system, has nowhere to go, doesn't have a family, doesn't have a car, doesn't have transportation, is experiencing a completely new world, didn't have access to technology or to the noise of the real world, right? I think the best way we can explain it is experiencing COVID, the general population experiencing COVID and not having contact with people. That really affects a person's mental health and wellness. And just to share some statistics with you, the female population stands over 7 times higher since 1980. And the rate at which we incarcerate females is actually doubling compared to males. And over 60% of women who are currently incarcerated in the state system have children that are 18 years or younger.
And I know that speaks directly to your experience. As you mentioned, you had young children when you were incarcerated.
Yep, definitely.
Now, with our clients at St. Patrick's Center, and I know we don't have women with children in our Women's Night program, but I'm sure you see a lot of that in the workforce development program. What does that look like whenever there is a client that may have kids, whether that be male or female, that may have kids and trying to, build skills to re-enter the workforce without a job, maybe even without housing, if they're a St. Patrick's Center client trying to find housing, what does that look like for you? And what are the challenges that come, that surround that?
So during our initial meetings, we develop goals that our clients want to set for themselves. And many times it's reestablishing contact with their family members. They miss their children. I mean, can you imagine saying goodbye to your child for an indefinite time? I mean, it hurts. It hurts more than anybody can imagine. And knowing that someone wants to reenter a person's life after getting the appropriate care they need is a beautiful thing, because every child wants to be connected with their parent. And so we provide other services, whether it's through behavioral health, through our occupational therapy department. They provide services that help people develop certain patterns, a schedule, an agenda that gets them to that space. But, as much as that person wants to re-enter another person's life, we make sure that both parties are ready for that intersection. So we do provide services to that family through other partner organizations.
So when we talk about reentry, we're not just talking about reentering the workforce. We're talking about reentering society as a whole.
As a whole person, and coming out even better. And I think that's our goal, is to restore a person to their fullest potential. And that's an opportunity for each person, I believe, that is willing to work and to make that change to achieve their max potential.
We've heard so many great things about the workforce development. Are there any requirements or qualifications for some of our listeners that might not know to get into workforce development and work with someone like yourself?
So they just need to show up at the Welcome Center. Every Monday through Friday, we do intakes at 7:30 in the morning, or if you show up at 12:30, they'll be ready to welcome you at 1 o'clock right after lunch. You need to just bring 2 forms of ID, and then we take it from there. A lot of our clients don't have a GED. We provide that in-house. We have classes for GED. We have classes for keyboarding, how to use a computer. We provide telephones. We teach people how to use a telephone, how to check voicemail, how to create an email account, very standard and basic things that people who've been removed from society never had access to. So we take it at a pace based on where that person is. And similar to the housing model, which is like a VI SPDAT, we do the same thing with workforce development. We assess where each person is, and then we create a plan together with them to get them to their next destination.
This is one of my favorite questions to ask our guest on the show. And it allows you to dream big, right? And, if you had unlimited resources, money, personnel, volunteers, whatever that may look like, partnerships, what is like your big picture goal, your big picture dream for the workforce development program?
I would love to create a reverse mentoring program. So allowing for our clients to work with top leaders of the St. Louis area so that both sides could learn from each other. I think we kind of talked about that in the beginning of the podcast, about those pearls of wisdom, that perseverance, overcoming tremendous obstacles. You need that in the boardroom. You need that in any kind of situation. And I think if you give people that space and opportunity to shine, you can impact so many people around you. So I would really love for the opportunity to give clients a more open arena, a better space, so that they can present themselves in the way they wish they could be presented in. And secondly, I think transportation is a huge barrier to entry. Without a bus pass, or, in St. Louis, the metro only goes so far, and coming to work, with a car is very important. So developing some kind of model that would allow for a client to have their own car, some type of investment that would allow them to take them to their workplace would be really amazing. Giving a car to a client I know you said I have unlimited funds. So,
Absolutely.
But without a car, you can't really do a lot of stuff here. We're not a pedestrian-friendly town. So you need a car, you need a home, you need food and clothes. So making sure that each client has that would be wonderful.
And I guess, Brandy, too, when we talk about transportation, that affects your clients as well, right?
Absolutely.
When you're house hunting, when you're job hunting, or even when you do have a home, getting to those jobs, right? Because it's kind of In St. Louis, it's tough. We're not in Chicago, New York,
Going to a doctor's appointment, taking your children to school or, whatnot. Definitely.
I mean, while they're in our program, we provide those services to them. But as Basia said, once you get out and you're on your own, our services now are limited. So some things we can still transport them to or give them bus passes or bus tickets to get to, but not everything. So, yeah, that transportation does become a problem.
It's huge.
At that point.
And one step that we've done a really good job with is the bicycle program. So I know that some of my clients received bicycles that were recycled from other programs, and that was like Christmas to them, because having even a bicycle that takes them to the library to use a computer, because a lot of our clients don't have internet or a computer in their housing situation. So any mode of transportation is remarkable for a client.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned the bicycle program. This gives me a perfect opportunity to shout out one of our past superstars at St. Patrick's Center, Emily Corey. She set up this bicycle program with SLU, St. Louis University, and I think that's probably the program you're speaking of.
I am.
Where we are able to get donated bicycles from them. So that's awesome. And Emily, if you're listening, we want to thank you for allowing our clients or helping our clients have those modes of transportation.
Absolutely. Mine, thank you as well. I have a few that have bikes that get them around the city, and except for when the snow hit. They had to put it up, but
yes.
Other than that, yes. That
and we
bike
found a
comes in
bike
handy.
shop that actually refurbished one of them for one of our clients. After hearing his story, they went in and changed all the chains and did like a full service. So again, it's helping one another out, extending an extra hand or service that you might be able to provide to change somebody's life.
Yeah, so for all of you that purchased bikes during the beginning of the pandemic, and are no longer utilizing them, right, because we're back to work and we're back out in society, feel free to bring those bikes by St. Patrick's Center because we know some folks that would greatly appreciate those.
Definitely.
So, Basia, everything that you've done thus far is nothing short of amazing. What's next for you?
Thank you. I appreciate that. A lot has been done in this year and a half, and as our team is extremely proud of it. And we see the outcomes and we see the growth. Our classes are at capacity almost with each of the programs that we provide. I hope that we can continue to grow our workforce development team and be part of that center, be part of that mission, and be a part of people's agenda in our communities, whether it's a corporate, a corporation or a non-for-profit, but kind of bringing people together, all companies, all neighborhoods, and all sitting at the table together and having a meaningful conversation without judgment. And I think that starts by inviting people into St. Patrick's Center and developing ideas that stimulate a passion for whoever has the opportunity to be in our building and working with our clients. I think we're extremely blessed to have the volunteers that come in through the door who work in donations, who are former CEOs and executives. I mean, it's remarkable. The people that I see in the elevator sometimes, I'm like, this is amazing, So I think just building upon those resources and seeing how we can continue to build upon the changes we've been able to achieve so that we don't have to deal with recidivism. So we don't have to deal with incarceration. We don't have to deal with homelessness. I think that's our mission, to end it, right? So I will do whatever I can together with all of us to work towards that mission and goal. I mean, I have to say our success rate in filling jobs has been remarkable. I would say people are placed into an employment opportunity within 2 months of working with us, which is pretty remarkable. We have a job fair coming up on March the 1st, where 7 different companies are coming to St. Patrick's Center to interview our clients.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah. So, I mean, again, our clients look at St. Patrick's Center as a safe haven. they know that whoever's coming to them at St. Patrick's Center, that they're okay to talk to.
Yeah, they have good intentions.
Yeah, that there's trust. Trust is so important. So with that being said, I think there's opportunity to do even better. A lot of employment opportunities require a GED. So we're trying to work with that stipulation and maybe allow a person to work or apply for that job while obtaining their GED to kind of fulfill both needs. And the big elephant in the room is, incarceration. If you have, a record of some kind, people may not consider you, and we're doing a lot of work with Ban the Box, obviously, in education and employment, to not make that the front and center presentation of a person. Allow a person to share their story. Allow a person to talk about a challenge that was a part of their journey, but how much stronger they are now and how they can provide, an asset to their company by being able to survive an experience like that. But you can't do that on an employment application, and you can't do that online. I mean, we're connecting because we're here in person talking live, right? And those are the opportunities we're trying to create with employers and our clients by bringing them together in the room.
All right, Basia. Before we sign off the podcast today, is there anything that you would like to close us out with? Any final words?
Definitely. We tend to judge people by their external actions, but we really don't know what that person's journey truly has been. I witness this on a daily basis at St. Patrick's Center. I don't know where I would be today if it wasn't for my support network, and I know my clients feel the same when working with my team at St. Patrick's Center. We lift each other up, and through this process and support, we experience a beautiful transformation that changes the narrative for everyone involved.
Thank you for sharing that.